It is the ultimate honor to introduce to you a man that truly needs no introduction, but I'm going to take a swing at it anyway. Dr. Daniel Van Hoff is the physician-in-chief and distinguished professor of TGen. He's a professor of medicine at the Mayo Clinic. He's a clinical professor of medicine at the University of Arizona and chief scientific officer at the Virginia G. Piper Cancer Center Clinical Trials Program at Scottsdale Healthcare and U.S. Oncology. Please give me a warm, help me welcome Dr. Van Hoff, who truly is changing the world. Before I turn this mic over, there's one more data point that I want to give you. We'll be in this room today for about 2.5 hours. Based on statistics, unfortunately, 11 people in this country will pass away in this time frame from pancreatic cancer. And if there is a man alive with a group of committed folks that will change that, it's you. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Carl. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your tremendous dedication to try to take out this disease. Now, when you just jump up here, you're kind of blinded by the lights, so I can't see very many people. But it does make me sad for those that we've lost. And these lights in the room remind me of so many that we've lost. It's very hard for my team and I to miss, and we miss them just like you do. So I'd like a moment of silence for those really brave people that we've lost this last year. Thank you. Now we're going to have another loss this year, unfortunately, and it's a great lady who has been on the phone with so many and supported, and her name is Katie Schrader. Nurse Katie Schrader is moving with her husband to Milwaukee, but will stay in the pancreas cancer research area. And Katie, I wonder if you'd stand so we could all say thank you to you. She's the Christmas angel, no doubt about it. I entitled this brief remarks this afternoon, "The Eye of the Storm." Let me take you back to Hurricane Sandy. Greater than $68 billion worth of damage, the second costliest in history. Some people in this room were affected, I know. 286 people killed in 7 countries in the path of the storm. In addition to the loss of life and property destruction, I was actually worried about something else. I was worried because that was the day that Hurricane Sandy hit the East Coast, was the day that the final results of the clinical trial that was started by this Gulf Classic was supposed to be ready to be analyzed. And as you just heard from Carl, every day makes a difference. On that day, though, the electricity failed for the computer which was supposed to give us the data. And the data was on the big study of 861 patients with stage 4 pancreatic cancer who received either the combination of nab-paclitaxel gemcitabine or gemcitabine alone. This was a very important study because there was no age limitation. Didn't make any difference how old you were. Didn't make any difference how many sites of metastatic disease a person had. This was a study for a very much majority of patients with pancreas cancer. So what were these results for this critical study? Well, when the electricity went off, I thought about a few things. We thought about the very early days we presented the facts to this, so many supporters in this room, that there's scar around pancreatic cancer. And it stops anti-cancer drugs from getting in, and it stops a patient's immune system from getting into that cancer. It cloaks that cancer. And we had a way to break down that scar, we said, with nanoparticle, the first use in medicine of nanoparticles, albumin-coated paclitaxel, now known as Braxane. I also thought about the first time we presented the initial results to many people in this room, and although I don't have a pointer to show you, I think you can see that people's x-rays got better. In fact, some people's tumor melted totally away, and their PET scans with all the black dots there, they got better. And I do remember Roger saying, as he picked up the German Shepherd, this is something different. I thought, what would I say if this 861 patient study turns out to be negative? Sorry for letting so many patients and their families down. And I know my colleagues felt the same. I thought about what would I say to all of you regarding all of the efforts over these years. Sorry for letting you down. I thought about so many people in this room from TGen and Scottsdale Healthcare who worked on this regimen. And I would like them to stand again, from the laboratory all the way to the clinic to the people on the phones. Please stand so we can applaud you. I thought about the people that you've been supporting in the pancreas cancer research team. 45 institutions, 11 countries, and an international team of investigators, the very best, the very best. But then the news came in on a call from New Jersey that the power was still on in the basement of the Celgene biostatistician home in New Jersey, and the call was able to be made on the results of the study. I was called immediately, and the trial was positive. It improved patient survival. The combination improved all aspects of survival. The average increase of survival was 27%. The progression-free survival, where the tumor didn't get any bigger, 49% increase. The one-year survival, a 59% increase. And for the first time in the history of clinical trials for patients with stage 4 pancreas cancer, there were 2-year survivors with stage 4 pancreas cancer, and some are continuing, thank God, 125% increase. There was also improved response rates, which is tumor shrinkage which controlled people's pain. There was a 263% increase in tumor shrinkage, and very reasonable toxicity and safety profile, some numbness and tingling, which caused 17% of people to stop the regimen, some blood count suppression, and some hair loss. The other quite amazing thing, which is kind of hard to see here, is that this regimen worked for those who had the very worst prognosis. In other words, if you had liver metastases in yellow, you did much better than average. If you had more than 3 different sites of cancer, you did much better. And other parameters, you did much better, even though you were in worse shape. And we still don't understand that. To put in perspective, last year I showed how many trials have been done, but there have been more done now that have been negative. And these are all the trials done since 1990 to present, and whether or not they improved survival. These are more than 800 patient trials. No, 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 yes. The first one we did with gemcitabine versus 5-FU. No, no. No, 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 yes. 7-day improvement in survival. No, 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 no. No, 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 yes. A French study done in France showed improvement in survival. No, no, no. Just remember every one of these 800 patient trials. No, 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 no. In summary, only 3 of 33 in history have really ever impacted on survival. Please, for a minute, savor for just a tiny bit, because we have a long ways to go, just a little bit, the worldwide impact of your generosity. This trial was done in 151 sites all over the world. And this clinical trial never would have been done without the pilot work that convinced people to go with a larger number of patients on Abraxane gemcitabine. It was made possible by this Gulf Classic. Never would have been done without your generosity. I think we owe you a round of applause. You did it. This regimen, supported by this Gulf Classic, was approved by the FDA for use in the United States on September 6th. Record time. The European FDA also gave a positive opinion, and this will be available for patients in Europe. It was just approved November 22nd, just in time for the golf tournament. We published it for all to review, and those many came up to me and said, we understand how hard it is to get in the New England Journal. This is the best peer-reviewed journal in the world, and it means the results were significant. And now we know we still have a long way to go because there are too many people. But I think we certainly can think about it during the holidays here that we're also keeping many people alive for one more, and you fill in blank, and some for many more. But we can and we need to do better. We need to recognize a problem in this country because the critics would say, and they were right, why did it take so long to get 861 people and go all over the world to do it when we have 32,000 people in the United States that actually got this disease? And this is a major problem. 6 Gulf Classics to get the 861 patients on clinical trials. And a nice study done recently showed, it's a terrible news, that all the clinical trials were open in 2011. An average of only 15% of the people who needed to go on trial actually went on the study. And one of the greatest threats to our progress against this disease in general, and pancreas cancer in particular, is there's decreased participation in clinical trials. Instead of 2% in the last number of years, it's down to 1%. With 38,000 people diagnosed each year with the disease, think about it, only 380 going on clinical trials. Progress is too slow, and at this rate, it's going to be hard to find new things and document they work. Otherwise, the advances will take too long. Now let's go back on the positive side here. What has this Abraxane gemcitabine mission taught us? As you heard, probably put a lot better than I'm going to, a band of committed people can certainly have an impact on the world. That would be you. If we did it once, we can do it again. We need the science and the ideas. That's always the basis. We need the drive. I don't see any lack of that in this room. And we need the dollars. We also should not underestimate that when there's a new approach and there's actually progress of improving survival with advanced pancreas cancer, it stimulates the whole field. And it can be done. And I just want to put here that there's 13 new clinical trials since we actually reported this, started with Abraxane gemcitabine as the backbone. And lots of young investigators, a couple sitting right down here, that say, you know, I think we could do this. Make it better. So what are this next year's mission in the last couple of slides? First of all, build a treatment regimen to improve on this Abraxane plus gemcitabine that the gain we just made, and make it more active. For instance, we could add an enzyme to take out that scar, use anti-inflammatory agents, add other drugs. And the other important thing is use Abraxane gemcitabine earlier in the disease. How about at stage 1, 2, or 3 rather than stage 4, where it will certainly could have a bigger impact. As an example, there are additional targets, and if I could point, you could see the brown stain there. That's the scar in these cancers compared to the one that normal tissue. You can see how much scar there is. And Cliff Watcutt, who's sitting out there somewhere, has been studying this in detail using the machine, Steve, there it is, to detect how much of this material is there. And this enzyme that can actually break that material down and get drug and your immune system in even better. And as Carl said, it's pretty remarkable because the pressure in these tumors goes down. And when the pressure goes down, the pain goes away for a person. And the drugs and the person's immune system can get in. So we have another way to go after this scar. Ramesh Ramanathan sitting down in the front here. Ramesh did a phase 1, the initial trial in people with the enzyme hyaluronidase, and it's tolerated well and can be put in combination. So there's 2 international trials ongoing now with nab-paclitaxel gem with or without hyaluronidase, and the other regimen for patients, which was discovered by the French, the FOLFIRINOX with or without hyaluronidase, based on that machine that you bought. We also know that if Abraxane and gemcitabine is used early, it'll probably have a much greater impact on the disease. Now, I hesitated to show this, but I will tell you, these are patients who are operable, okay, operable. And they either got just the agent gemcitabine for 6 months or no further therapy, which is usually what happens after a person has surgery, no further therapy. And you can take a look, this is started 10 years ago. The 5-year survivals with no therapy after surgery was 10%. And gemcitabine, just that drug, that one drug, was 21%. And you can see how bad the 10-year survival was. Now imagine what it could be with Abraxane plus gemcitabine used earlier. It'll at least double that. In fact, it might triple that. So that's what's happening, a major trial throughout the world utilizing the combination earlier in the disease. Which brings us to the important fact that we need to get methods to detect this disease earlier. It takes between 21 and 24 years, Roger, to this tumor to grow. People come with the disease and they say, gee, I'm sure it just started a couple of months ago. No, it started 20-some years ago in a person. And when it started 20 years ago, there weren't so many resistant cells in there, and it was in a lot of places, but they weren't resistant. So you could treat earlier. So what we need, and this is next year's mission, is we need a mammogram for pancreatic cancer. You know, no one really has ever cured stage 4 breast cancer, but the difference is that with earlier detection, using the same drugs which are not very good for stage 4 earlier, you cure tremendous number of women with breast cancer. And you just have to give it for a short period of time. So it worked that way in breast cancer, and we have some ideas, Dr. Korn will cover here in a minute, for early detection, and we really need your support to do that because that's where the impact will be. So for our to-do list for this next year, with your support, we have 2 boxes. Get even better treatment to further improve survival, and develop a method, a mammogram, for earlier detection of pancreatic cancer. It takes a team to do that, and it takes all of your support. We did it, we improved survival, and we need to do it again. Thank you.